Good morning on Wednesday, the 18th of December 2024. It's 8 a.m. in the Gambia and therefore coffee time with me, Peter Gomez. The program is brought to you in association with partners led by Bloombank Africa, the Gambia Experience, the USPEEC and GAM Food Trading, TAF Africa Global, Wave Global Properties, and Easy Financial Services.
Did you know service plots are now available at Baki? Welcome to Baki, Taft City's fourth residential estate.
Yes, service plots available at Baki with 3 years interest-free payment plan with a minimum deposit of only $94,000, and it will come with fence plot, water reticulation, electricity, solar street lights, and bituminized internal roads. Are you ready to build your dream home for yourself?
Call us now.
Our press review today starts with The Voice. Barrow tells Gambians to ignore deceptive political claims of road projects. Former KMC cashier quizzed over unauthorized withdrawals totaling $167 million. Real estate dealer accused of fraud. Aliu Danso profits $8 million in dubious KMC deal. Government renews commitment to job creation by promoting private sector. CSOs unite to advance TRRC recommendations. FAWEGAM wraps up GBV intergenerational sensitization, and NCAC and partners launch Gambia's Intangible Cultural Heritage Register. Next, a look at Foraya's front page. No cash at SECOs to commence groundnut trade season in NBR. MRC staff union calls off strike and resumes work today. Senabu Martin says KMC inflated Mbalit truck price. Parliament to engage Environment Minister on investigation into Kiankayaf mahogany incident. Victims Center welcomes ECOWAS approval for special tribunal, and Aissatou Keita elected President of the Gambia Press Union. The Point has these headlines this morning. Ferry Services GM unveils 2025 blueprint ahead of new ferry. 11 communities in CRR announced defection to UDP. Gambia-Senegal Economic Forum to cement friendly environment. Government launches employment forum to create 150,000 jobs. Barrow receives briefing on Councillor 2024 military exercise. And GPU President-elect outlines vision for better media. Finally, the Standard's front page. Activist says Senegal ideal place to try Jammeh crimes. APRC kingpin tells Barrow to give deaf ear to special tribunal. US hails ECOWAS decision to establish special tribunal. Generals brief president on exercise Councillor 2024. Court dismisses appeal of violent and rapist taxi driver. Fonyi National Assembly member asks government to focus on resurrecting dead economy rather than prosecuting Jammeh. Dabo tells Barrow to desist from tribal politics. Banjul National Assembly member decries non-debate on the budget, and KMC contractor denies bribing KMC CEO. And that was your first look at the newspapers this morning. Our thanks to the editors and reporters of Foraya, The Voice, The Point, and The Standard.
Looking for an establishment where value for money and unrivaled services with admirable turnaround time is guaranteed? The Port of Banjul is the perfect place for you. A vital gateway for trade offering connections to numerous global destinations. With improved infrastructure combined with a flexible tariff, the Port of Banjul remains a vital node in maritime trade. Along with its dedicated workforce, efficient service delivery, technology-inspired innovation, and an impressive record in handling all type of cargo. The Port of Banjul is also widely acknowledged as one of the safest ports on the continent with no history of piracy. As a major player in the region's maritime trade, accounting for 90% of all imports and exports, we are more than just a transit point, but a vital cog in the global trade sphere. Come experience a hassle-free fast customs clearance inspired by our simplified trade documentation procedures, safe and efficient cargo and vessel handling. The Port of Banjul offers prompt, reliable and value for money service, and customer satisfaction is guaranteed.
On Wednesday, the 18th of December 2024, I am Peter Gomez and you're with Coffee Time on West Coast Radio. Thanks for joining us. Now, extending the incumbencies of sitting presidents beyond the typical 2 terms, even if not set in a country's constitution, has come to be regarded as one of the greatest concerns for the future of democracy and constitutionalism in Africa. Opinion polls show that Africa's people, by and large, support such limits. But few easy options exist to defend these limits when they are under threat or to introduce them where term limits are not part of the prevailing governance system. Recent announcements by Barrow supporters about the president's 2026 intentions have stoked a third-term debate here in the Gambia. Here's Lamin Cham with the thoughts of Demba Ali Jawo, or D.A. Jawo, former information minister in Barrow's cabinet.
While we still have got almost 2 years to go before the next presidential elections, jockeying for positions within the political jigsaw puzzle has begun in earnest. We have just witnessed the commencement of the political juggling with the Gambia Moral Congress, GMC, opening the transfer window with the announcement that it has formed an alliance with the governing National People's Party, NPP. And there is no doubt that it is just the beginning of several such alliances before the elections. But while a closer look at the political terrain would show that the NPP has a much stronger magnet to attract the smaller parties, there are also possibilities of some of the opposition parties forming coalitions or alliances in order to boost their chances of dislodging the NPP. Therefore, as we get closer to the elections, there is likely to be much more juggling and cross-carpeting. There is, however, also the possibility of some component parties of the so-called NPP Grand Coalition pulling out, apparently because they had not gotten what they had expected. In fact, some of them had even started publicly accusing some NPP militants of arrogance and failure to appreciate their role in the coalition. However, the biggest question that most political analysts seem to be pondering is, in fact, whether it is wise for President Adama Barrow to seek a third term, as been peddled by some NPP militants. Well, of course, it would be foolhardy to expect these NPP militants to say anything otherwise, because their very political survival rests on President Barrow's continuation in office, and therefore they would do whatever it takes to prevail on him to go on forever. But is it really in the interest of President Adama Barrow to go for a third term? Well, in the first place, there is no guarantee that Barrow would win another election, especially considering the fact that apart from the 2021 presidential elections, the NPP lost the popular vote in all the other elections that followed. Therefore, as the possibility of getting a new constitution before the next presidential election is very slim, and the very fact that under the 1997 constitution, it will be first past the post, meaning whoever gets the most votes wins the election, it therefore means that if the trend continues, President Adama Barrow does not seem to stand much chance of winning another election. Also, looking at the trend of recent elections in Africa, the odds seem to be very much stacked against President Adama Barrow. Because we have just seen how the opposition have done or seem to have done very well in recent elections in many countries, including neighboring Senegal, faraway Botswana and Mozambique, and most recently in Ghana. Another issue not in President Barrow's favor, if he ever decides to go for a third term, would be his reputation among his colleagues in ECOWAS, where the trend has not been to go beyond 2 terms. We have seen that even his friend and mentor, Macky Sall, despite all that had been said against him, stepped down at the end of his second term. And so had been the case with the Ghanaian president, Nana Akufo-Addo, and it is likely to be the case with many of President Barrow's other colleagues in the sub-region. Therefore, it is hard to believe that President Barrow would want to be the odd man out in that equation. It is therefore certainly in his own best interest to think very hard before deciding to go for another term and risk not only his reputation among his colleagues in ECOWAS, but even losing the elections and end up nyaka this, nyaka lestic, as the famous gambling parlance goes. Obviously, 10 years should be enough for someone who came to power on the promise of serving just only 3 years.
Demba Ali Jawo's thoughts on the Gambia's raging third-term debate ahead of presidential elections, which are due in 2026. Lamin, thank you very much for another very fine read.